Okay, so hey guys, this is Beely Breezy here with Circus Madness, and we actually do have a name for this podcast now. It's no longer the Nameless Podcast. We've decided to name it the Learn from Experience Podcast, and the topic of today is, I guess the lesson of the day is redemption, atonement, and forgiveness. We're going to start off with talking about actually two animes of our choice. And the reason why we decided to use anime is I think anime is a great media for lessons and to actually learn from. I think anime is a great media that executes storytelling and morals and learning lessons through storytelling in it's the catalyst for a lot of the learning that I've experienced as a kid. A lot of the wisdom that I learned actually was from watching anime and reading manga. So for me, I think that what better way to explain and show and highlight the journey of redemption, the journey of atonement and forgiveness through through animation, Japanese animation. And I'm gonna start off with not showing sharing. I'm gonna start off with sharing my anime, and then afterwards Circus is gonna start talking about his anime that he's chosen. um the anime that I chosen to talk about to showcase this theme is I think it's a more modern anime. It's a movie called A Silent Voice. And if anybody's ever, I guess, if you've never watched it, definitely give it a watch. It's actually a really easy watch. It's a regular movie, about maybe 2 hours, I think. The manga, even better. I actually read the manga first before I watched the movie. The movie is still pretty good, but the manga has so much more to impact, and I would highly recommend reading that first or reading that book instead of the movie, to be honest. But anyway, uh, it starts off with the main character. Actually, I don't remember his name. Let me look it up. Yeah, Shoya, actually. Okay, so Shoya, the main character Shoya, who he starts off the movie starts off with just showcasing him in present day, where he's just a seemingly regular high school boy who actually is a loner, doesn't really have any friends, and is actually kind of depressed. You see him actually, the movie shows him actually going through school life, and then at the end of the day, actually selling off all his things, and then also he has a big wad of cash that he actually worked really hard for. And he puts it in an envelope and, addresses it to his mother. And then he actually in his head, he has the idea to actually commit suicide. And you don't really know why at first. And you're like, what's going on through this kid's mind? Why is he trying to end his life? And, he basically took up all his worldly possessions, sold them off, and he didn't even need them anymore. And you think, at first you think because maybe he's alone, maybe it's because he's depressed, he has no friends. Actually, in reality, you get a flashback. And the flashback's quite long throughout the movie. It's a good majority of the movie, and it flashes back to him being in elementary school, where he actually was a more outgoing kid. He actually had lots of friends. He's like the complete opposite than he is now today. Um, you know, he has a good few friends. Of course he's a boy. They do boy things and they're kind of aggressive with each other. And then there's this new girl. A new girl comes into the class, and she's deaf. And I guess Shoya, this boy, I guess he's like a kid. That's thing is, when we're kids, we kind of we don't really understand empathy. We don't understand kindness or understanding other people, and we don't really know how to put other people in our shoes. We only know how to see from our own perspective. At this age, we really don't know how to treat others. as if we are in their shoes yet.
It's very difficult
Um,
for children.
yeah, it's very difficult for children,
It's very,
like, and that's why children are so honest. Like, they don't care. They don't see it as like there is no filter with them. And in
it's
a
a
way,
rare
that's
few that are born
yeah,
with it. Very rare
yeah,
few
it's
though.
a rare few. And that's why you know, he's a young kid, and so he, I guess, sees someone who's different and doesn't understand why, doesn't really like it. It feels wrong to him, and no one ever taught him different. And his mom's not a bad person actually in the story. She's actually a really good mom. It's just, when you're a kid, you kind of just don't know any better, and so, and the adults around in the story are not any better than, they're actually kind of, you kind of feel like as though these adults should know better, and that they have a bigger responsibility to teach these kids to be better. And so anyway, in the story, he kind of bullies her. He pulls pranks on her, rips her ear pieces out. This little girl's name, let me see. Her name is also Shoko, very similar to his name, Shoko. So anyway, so Shoya actually gets other kids to also bully her too. And then also there's a group of girls that also, like, bully her in their own girl ways. Instead of being more pranky and like more aggressive, they're more subtle in their bullying. Talking about her, giggling, and, like, making sure that she can see that they're treating her differently. And I think, and it all starts off with this, like, it all starts off with him doing it, and then other people doing it, and this all comes to a precipice where, with all the earbuds, the listening devices, the um what do you call those things?
Headphones, earbuds.
Not headphones, but they're the, what do you call those things?
What are
I'm
you
gonna
looking
look it up.
for?
The hearing aids. There you go. That's what you call them. So hearing aids. It all comes to a precipice where, the amount of hearing aids that had to get replaced was just too much for the mother of Shoko, the deaf girl, to handle. So she actually brought it up to the principal, and then the school was going to get in a lot of trouble if they didn't address it. And so one day, when they addressed it, everybody just pointed the finger at him. Was like, he's the bully, he's the one who did it all, even though they all participated in the bullying, but to various degrees. He was the worst of them all, though. No, there's no, you know, uh, no whitewashing that. He did the worst of it. Um, they even got into an actual physical fight, at a certain point with him and her. He, I don't know. I don't know exactly. I think you could probably make a whole other video about why the internal reasons as to why he started bullying her in the first place. You could probably make a whole other analyzation with that. But um and they, and she's a strong kid. Like, she wanted to actually be friends with him even after everything he did to her. She still tried to be nice to him. She still tried to be kind. She still attempted to be friends. And I think that actually made it even matter, because he knew deep down that he felt kind of shitty for what he was doing. But, as a kid, you don't really understand the feelings that you're feeling. You don't understand the feelings of guilt. You just feel bad, and then you feel anger, and then, he just, kind of up the aggression, up the bullying. But anyway, so um this kid, Shoya, gets he gets outed for being the bully towards everyone, and then he gets punished. And then afterwards, Shoko actually gets transferred to a different school, and so she's no longer there. And now the bullying is now reversed onto him. And now this is where he learns a very valuable lesson, and he actually learns, what he put her through. And he actually learned, he lost all the friends he had. He got outcasted. He got treated the same way that he treated her. He got his books thrown into a pond. He got his chair thrown away. They put a bunch of shit on his desk. Actually, when this was happening, she was actually still there. She was actually still at the school, and she was actually, even though he bullied her, she saw that he was being the one, he was being bullied, and she actually attempted to wash the desk for him before he saw how nasty the comments were on his desk. And that's where actually he got really mad. He got really mad at her, and that's where the whole fight actually broke out. The physical fight they had. I think when you watch it, it's actually really, really, what's the word? Impactful. It's really impactful to watch. I would recommend it. It's not something I would have to really think deep onto like this scene, how like impactful and like deep this scene actually is. But anyway, when you get into the redemption of it and the atonement of it, um, she and he and his journey to actually being the bully, then being the bully, and then finally actually get going. Actually, he changed as a person. He was more outgoing before and more rambunctious and more of a mischievous kind of like kid that was willing to jump off of rivers and do crazy stuff for the fun of it, because he just was so energetic. And then he got bullied, after he actually learned a very valuable lesson in treating people better. He grew to hate himself, and he actually crawled. He kind of inverted within himself, where he actually became a very shy kid. He became a very anxious kid. He was no longer outgoing. He no longer had friends, and the old friends he did have would just uh, tell everybody he's a bully, so that nobody wanted to be his friend. So he actually, for a long time, was a loner, and that self-loathing just grew and grew and grew more inside of him until he went to high school, which nobody actually knew him in high school except for maybe one or two other people. So now we fast forward to actually present day, where he's about to kill himself. On this last day, he decides to go visit her in her high school and actually say, I guess, one last goodbye and maybe apologize for what he did. He actually even learned sign language. In the bullying, when he was bullying her, the whole class was trying to learn sign language when in elementary school, and he was the one that actually refused and was complaining about learning it. So you could see that growth, where before scoffed at the idea of learning sign language, to actually dedicating himself to be fluent in it. So he says to her, he finds her. It says to her in sign language, he wanted to actually say I'm sorry, but I guess something took over him, and instead of saying sorry, he actually said, "Can you be my friend?" Which is something that he remembers her doing when they were little, and when after he threw a book, one of her translating books, in the pond, he actually she actually, Shoko actually signed to him, "Can you be my friend?" But he didn't understand it at the time. And in this moment, he actually realizes that's the thing she was trying to say this whole time as he was doing the sign language. "Can you be my friend?" And she actually agrees. She was shocked, and if anything, she actually tried to run away from him at one point, because she thought, wow, he's going to try to bully me again. But she actually looked at him and actually said yes. And that's where the whole story actually starts, and that's where I think his atonement starts, and where he actually tries to shift as a person, tries to grow as a person, and he actually stopped thinking about killing himself. And I think that's where he actually decided, I'm going to live for her, because in a way, this atonement was, I think he used this I need this friendship, that like, hey, I need to make sure her life's good, and I need to make sure that I need to make sure that I do everything I can to make her happy, because I made her life so miserable. And I think that's where it started at first. And and maybe deep down he wanted a friend. And so the whole story, I guess, is him, becoming a different person, and actually, in a way, actually becoming a little bit of his old self mixed in with his new self as he, does kind things to her and to other people, and actually, because he actually showcases that he became a more empathetic person. A more, but in a lot of ways, he also and there's also points in the story where he actually regresses at some points, but that's the journey, I think I think that's why this story is such a great example of atonement and redemption and forgiveness, is because it's not a linear path, and that's what this whole movie is really about. And um it's also they also come up with the question of, are you just pitying her? Are you just being nice to her because you feel sorry for her? Are you just doing this to make yourself feel better? That's another question that also pops up in this movie, which is very interesting to me. It's like, do we try to atone? Do we try to seek out redemption for our ego, for just to feel better about ourselves? And is it really truly atonement if you are doing it for that reason? And that's an interesting take, And I think he struggles with that throughout the story, where he's like, I don't know if I really am doing this because I care about her, or am I doing this just because I feel bad for what I did? And by the end of the story, he actually
You
gathers
might
up
have
so
an answer
many. Yeah,
for that. Yeah, I might have.
yeah. What'd you say?
Yeah, I'm gonna finish what you were saying. Oh, I know, I know.
No, no, it's okay.
With your
You
conclusion.
you can you can make your point.
Um, when you become a different person, especially in the manner that he did specifically, you just by default make an effort to help the people around you, or to
Yeah,
be the type of person that pretty much anyone in your proximity is going to benefit from that.
yeah.
Um, and if I'm not mistaken, even when he went to get a job and stuff like that, people started to rely on him very heavily. He made a point to become very disciplined in things that in his
Well,
everyday
when he
life.
when he when he had a job, he was only making money so that he can kill himself.
I imagine, but it became more than that in the end because he
No,
really
no.
made.
Well, the job that he actually, okay. So in the beginning, he took the job to give money to his mom, so that when he killed himself, he felt like, oh, this is the money it was the money that she had to pay for to replace all those hearing aids, and he felt bad. He put his mom through all that, and so because he felt bad, he actually made the money to replace all the money that she spent to for that. And then, and then some, because he was going to kill himself. And then that's where he quit
Yeah,
his
but
job. He quit his job and to kill himself that day, but he didn't. He changed his mind.
perhaps, but the whole thing is, like you were saying, is it because that he felt guilty? Is
Yeah.
it because he felt sorry for her? And I believe that even though people might kind of come to that conclusion in his surroundings, when it comes to him specifically, it has no indication that's how he felt. It was a lot more like, this is just the right thing to do. And
Um, yeah,
that
I
has to come
think,
from the inside.
yeah, exactly. But I think what really was going through his head was, is there a way he was actually really struggling with, the the idea of, is there any redemption or atonement for what I've done, because I've hurt too many people. So it's like, the only atonement I could ever give is my life. And that's where he was stuck at. And also he was like, also stuck in, he was, before he tried to be your friend, he was stuck in this idea that, can someone really, am I just irredeemable? Am I an irredeemable person? No, is there, he was stuck in the idea of, like, no matter what I do, I'm always going to be a horrible person. I'm just a horrible person. It's that self-loathing that he kept hanging on to. And the more friends he actually made, or the more connections he made with people he once hurt, and actually improved them, the more scared he felt. He more scared he felt about losing them, And the more scared he felt that they would actually see his true colors, or what he thought was his true colors, which was a horrible person. He still felt like he was a horrible person even after all the improvements he made, after all the atonement he made. He still struggled with feeling like these people are going to leave me because I'm still broken. I'm still a bad person. Like, he could not fathom that these people would continue to choose to stay in his life and actually see him as a better person, because he didn't see himself as a better person yet. And that's why there was a whole later on in the story. There's a whole setup, and because he does, after he becomes friends with her, he starts to become more open with other people in his life. Because he actually does good thing. He actually, the small good deeds he's doing with her, it actually propels him to do even smaller and even bigger good deeds to other people around him and be more selfless. Because before, he was so scared about doing anything, and because he hated himself so much, he didn't even bother doing good or being good in any way. He just thought, oh, there's no point, because I'm already irredeemable to society. Everyone already hates me. There's no salvation or grace to look forward to. But anyway, once he
Which
opens
is funny
himself
to me
up, yeah, I know, right?
because this is
Yeah.
in a situation like that. This is the exact time that you're most likely to realize that that's not actually how that works.
hmm Well, he is
Um,
still a high schooler. He's still a high schooler. He's not an adult.
well, I
But
suppose.
so I guess in his own way, he's just figuring this out, you know. But anyway, he actually learns, you know, through the selfless actions that he's you know, doing with her, and then he also, you know, that spreads to other people in his life, and he actually makes a really good friend, you know, that in high school, and his classmate, because he saves him from a bully in his own, I guess, in his own way, not in a very heroic way, but, you know, in a very realistic way. um and then that friend, you know, becomes a very loyal person to him. He's a person who didn't know him before. You know, he doesn't know that he used to be a bully. He doesn't know the things he used to do. So later on in the story, he kind of just he has this internal struggle of, he's gonna know if he's gonna if it, he's a great friend. I really like him, and I'm scared to lose him type of feeling. And he's like, if he just knew, if he found out the person I used to be, he wouldn't want to be my friend anymore. He actually feared that. Um, and that fear actually, at the climax of the story, he actually, he like, all the people that he, gathered together to also to help her, because this girl wanted to reconnect with all these old people and old friends, and he helped her do it. And then also, he his friends became her friends, so they all became a whole, group. And um at this point, because there was so much past bad blood, you know, it came to a precipice at that moment as well, where, his new friends found out about his old self, was disappointed, and that was his worst fear. And and that's where he actually gave up for a little bit. He's like, I don't need any friends. All I need to do, the only thing I need to do is just be there for her. That's the only thing I'm here for, is just to make up for what I did. And she, and that's the thing, is like, this story's so like flexible and so vast. You see this through his perspective, but all the while, you actually don't see Shoko and her perspective until later on, where while he's doing all this, she just sees it as him trying to like make up for everything. And she actually is the one blaming herself for everything. So all the while, when she was bullied, she just blamed herself for being bullied. All the while he was the one, even when he was the one being mean to her, she just was like, it's all my fault because I'm defective. And she had her own self-loathing growth, her own feelings of guilt, her own feelings of being irredeemable, even though she didn't do anything actually at all. So some people go through this journey to no fault of their own, but because society has told them that they were bad. Because society told them that they didn't deserve uh didn't deserve forgiveness for some external thing you couldn't even control, which is her deafness, her disability. And so she just saw herself as a burden to everybody. And that's where she actually tries to commit suicide. She saw that him losing all his friends, per se, in that moment, was all her fault because um, because of her own existence. And so that's where she tries to commit suicide herself. And he's actually there to stop her. And he actually risks his life to save her from jumping off of a ledge. Actually, like not metaphorically, literally. And he goes to the hospital, gets put in the hospital, and does all this stuff. And he's in a coma at a certain point. And this is where she hates herself for not being strong enough. And this is where she actually changes internally. This is a turning point for her growth. And seeing her self-loathing, she actually her self-loathing and self-centeredness is actually so drastic. Sometimes you get so blinded by your own self-loathing and your self-centeredness that you actually don't see how self-absorbed you actually are. And it actually blinds you from all the people that truly do love you and want you in this life. And so when this all happened, she actually saw that in order for her to become to actually be a positive positive and not see in order for her not to see herself as a burden to others, she decided, I want to be strong enough. I actually want to be strong enough for the people I care about, so that they don't have to save me, so that I can actually be, so I can actually save myself and actually be a positive impact to others. Um, she and that's where she actually decides, I'm gonna do something about my I guess her inner like insecurities. Just like, and I guess like I said, I think his journey to atonement was what also led to her journey of growth. But anyway, this all comes down to the ending where they all put down. I guess they all put together a play. A play. All the friends actually come together again. They all apologize. They all have more understanding. They also, they see, and he actually comes out of the coma. And he has a better outlook in life, where he actually, throughout the whole story, there's this symbolic I guess art style. It's a symbolic art style where all the people that he does not accept and does not want to accept into his life, into his world. They're all everybody's faces has X's on it. It's also a representation of him never looking people in the eyes because of his guilt, because of his shame. And at the end of the story, throughout the story, little by little, these X's actually fall off of people's faces, little by little. It starts off with the first friend he ever made, that he helped. And then it started off with older friends that he used to have that he actually reconnected with. Those X's started to slowly fall off, meaning he was able to look at them in the eye and actually accept them into his life. And the world at the end of the story actually grew so much more. He started listening to the world, he started opening up to the world, and then all the X's of people's faces started to slowly fall off all at once. And it overwhelmed him. But it was a happy overwhelm. it was a happiness, and I think that was a symbol. That whole scene was symbolic to him finally accepting himself and accepting the world around him and releasing a shame, a guilt, and actually feeling as though he can actually move forward to make new connections in the world because he no longer felt as though he was condemned. He did not want he no longer felt condemned and bound to his past mistakes, his past actions. And Shoko was a I think Shoko, helped him in that. Shoko has her own, journey. I don't think hers is so much as it was redemption because she just was condemned at birth. But I guess it's like in a way their pathways are very much similar where they could understand each other even though they could understand each other because they both hated each other themselves and they both condemned themselves. And through them being friends and like making all these connections, they were finally able to stop doing that. And that's why I think this is a beautiful story because so many people feel as though they're irreversibly condemned. They're irreversibly broken. That there's nothing they could ever do to become anything more than what they are, become anything different than what they are, and that their past is something that's concrete that will forever bound their future, and chain their future to a specific outcome. And I feel like if we just opened up our minds, opened up our ears and our world like he did at the end, and see all the possibilities and see the growth that we can and see the change that we can actually make ourselves to make people's lives better in the smallest of ways or the world better in the biggest of ways. I think it helps. I think self-sacrifice and surrender is a big part of this, but also I think self-love is also a big part of this. Is like even though it's a hard journey to love yourself when you feel as though you've done something horrible that you can never make up for. Forgiving yourself seems to be the hardest thing ever, but I think the people in your lives can help you with that. But anyway, yeah. So that's my anime. It's called The Silent Voice. Like I said, I would recommend it. It's a really great watch, a really great read. Any thoughts on that, Circus?
The whole time, like if I had something that I thought I had to comment about, I would just say it. I don't really have much because you explained it fairly well.
Yeah.
Um, getting to it. When it comes to like redemption, atonement, forgiveness, um, it's a process. In my anime, Rurouni Kenshin, it specifically shows the part where that redemption has to come from within. In the
Mm-hmm.
anime, I'm a child of the 90s, of more or less. Depends on how you kind of gauge that. Um, Kenshin was one of the things that you saw on Toonami, also known as Samurai X, Rurouni Kenshin. Essentially, he was a assassin. He got employed by the government, and the government used him as a tool to kill a bunch of people and participate in a war. During this war, obviously, not only did he kill more people, but he was one of the main reasons why that a certain side of this fight was able to then exploit other people, have their own laws implicated into the culture. That's a whole thing that we can get into another time, maybe. The whole point has to do with obviously redemption. Oftentimes in redemption, people feel like it has to come with someone's forgiveness. It has to come with atoning for something. You have to do something to make up for what you did. And in the anime Kenshin, it shows you a different light where, for Kenshin specifically, he felt like he wasn't worth anything. A lot like how you said in your anime. It's shown in a light, however, that since he dismissed or was so callous with other people's lives, it kind of had this effect where he didn't care about his own life either. One of the most touching parts of the anime is when he realizes this very thing, that when it came down to it, he didn't care about his own life, and he was throwing his life away in the attempt to make up for all the bad things that he did. And the anime goes on to show you that that's actually a backwards way of thinking about it. You have to live with the things that you did. You have to become different so that your very existence becomes a testament to how you could have done something before and then you come to do something else after. Specifically, it shows that even if you do something as terrible as killing a bunch of people, destroying lives, you can imagine the horror. Even someone like that can be redeemed, can live their life in such a way that they can atone for what they've done. In the anime, another touching part is something that we hear in modern times often enough is that, you know, they met him as Kenshin, whereas before he was known as Matsusai the Slasher. His name alone would instill fear in people. And now, even in particular for the character of Kenshin, he seems like a very soft, passive, aloof person. You wouldn't be able to tell by looking at him the amount of suffering and the amount of depth and wisdom that he has within his mind, within his spirit, within his heart. And I think that applies to anybody that wants to redeem themselves, even in front of an individual person. Whereas coming to the point where you can actually go and ask for forgiveness for something becomes a great test of someone's character. And in religion, for example, particularly I think in Christianity, salvation, forgiveness is a process. It's not the simple thing like, oh, you go ask and someone says, I'm sorry, and they say, oh, it's okay, or I forgive you. It's done. It, of course, can be that easy. Generally speaking, for Christians, they believe that forgiving someone very quickly like that is the right thing to do. It's more complicated than that, but the thought itself is quite touching, I think. It also exists in some pagan cultures where forgiveness is a process. It's not, again, simply just going to say sorry. You have to kind of show yourself in a way that you can acknowledge what you've done and the impact that it had. A lot of times, and this is partially why it's so easy for certain people to go off on this kind of different path, that they want to do their best to pretend like they don't care, or do their best to just put it behind them and not care at all. Whereas these type of things can have a huge impact on your psyche, on your soul. But I guess that's another topic. When it comes to redemption, asking forgiveness, you don't want to do this thing where you want to martyrize yourself. Sometimes this happens with people where they can recognize that they did something wrong, but in response, when they realize that they did something wrong, they exhibit very kind of attention seeking, very, oh, look at me and how sorry I am type of behavior. Whereas that's going to be seen exactly like, attention seeking. That you're not really sorry, you're just sorry that you got caught. You're not really sorry, you're just sorry about the effects that it had on you. In order for that forgiveness to happen, it has to go completely aside from that to actual acknowledgement, actual understanding, and thereby being able to put yourself in a position where you can be forgiven. Oftentimes, that is to say that there's no guarantee that you will be forgiven. Example that I can give, you can do something as ridiculous as, let's say someone had a bag of chips and you took some chips from their bag of chips. You don't know if that bag of chips might have really meant something to somebody, or they really were in a mood where they wanted to eat every single one of their fucking chips, and you just took that from them. And they could just never forgive you ever for something that stupid. And you might think to yourself, like, oh, it's just some chips. Why are you acting so horrible? Or why are you acting so whatever about just some chips? Well, to that person, the more that you will be saying something and dismissing their feelings, the less likely it is that they can believe that you actually feel sorry, um, or that you actually care about their feelings and how losing their chips could have meant so much. It's the same thing in a broader sense. If you did something that hurt multiple people, there's no guarantee that this group of people might forgive you. In fact, it can
Yeah.
even be worse because if
Yeah.
these people know each other, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just agreeing, you can't really belittle or dismiss or invalidate the people who you've hurt's feelings. That's like not a way to gain forgiveness or atonement.
Yeah. Um, I'm mentioning all that because I want to show that sometimes, even if someone forgives you, that doesn't really mean that they forgive you. It can just mean that they think that's the right thing to do, that forgiving
Yeah.
others is the right thing to do. But in their feelings, that may not necessarily be how it is for them on the inside.
There's really no way of there's no really no way of like get you can't really achieve forgiveness through outside um validation, I don't believe. That's just my opinion. I know
Right.
some people believe that in order to get true forgiveness, they need to attain it through the victim, the person that they hurt. But I think forgiveness is a internal struggle. That because you may never get forgiveness from the person that you hurt, but that does not mean that
It,
you are not forgivable. You're not. That doesn't mean that you're forever condemned. You know,
well,
maybe that person that you hurt can forever condemn you, but I don't believe if you were earnestly trying to be a better person, and you earnestly have changed, then I you the struggle of forgiveness is now upon yourself.
there's a cultural aspect to it.
Yeah.
I believe in some cultures and possibly even in some Christian cultures, there's different Christian denominations. If you committed an atrocity, not necessarily an atrocity, but if you sinned against somebody or you transgressed against somebody, you go up to them and you say, "Hey, I recognize my transgression and I want to ask for forgiveness, and I'm prepared to do something within reason to make up for what I did." If the person refuses to forgive you, that's it. You essentially done your job. If the person refuses to forgive you, that is something that that person has to deal with, and you, in some degree, are no longer responsible for those person. Sorry, for that person or these people's feelings. You may still be responsible for what you did, and that you may have like some type of monetary or some type of physical thing that you need to give back. But as far as how the person feels about it, that is no longer your business if you, with all honesty, went up to them and asked for forgiveness. And
I don't know. Again, that's an interesting take. I feel like there could be some loopholes that some people might try to like hop between
well,
when it comes to that kind of take or that perspective. Some people could just try to do the bare minimum and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then you know
that
be
is
like, "Well, they don't forgive me," and then there's
that
no
is
internal
specific
shifting.
to the character of somebody. Saying, "Oh, I'm sorry," is not the same thing as saying, "You know what, so and so, I apologize.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I wasn't thinking about how this would
Well,
affect you." There's a completely different type of honesty and what's the word? Truthfulness,
genuine
humility. Yeah, to go
genuality.
and
What
say again.
genuality or no
Yeah,
authenticity? That's the word. Yeah,
yeah, that's right. Well, you get the idea, right?
yeah, yeah.
Just saying you're sorry is nothing compared to going really in someone's face and saying, "Look, I know I fucked up. I'm aware of it. I
Yeah.
was only thinking about myself. I wasn't thinking about how this might affect other people. And now that I realize that this affected you, what can I do
Yeah.
to make up for what I've done? Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? And
Okay.
you mean it, you know?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not the same thing.
Okay. It's just a hot take for me, man. Hot take for me. Some people may agree, some people may not agree, but I'm of the belief that, uh, well, this is obviously, everybody's perspective is different, but my perspective is like, I don't believe in putting the responsibility of what putting the responsibility on the person who I've wronged in trying to do in trying to atone or to try to you know ask for grace and forgiveness, or to just make up just to make up for what I did wrong. Like, I don't I don't know. Me personally, I don't like
Well,
when someone would do that for me. Like, oh, I'm putting this on you. I'm putting the responsibility on you to tell me what I should do for what I did that fucked you up. I don't know. But that could be just a hot take for me. I just personally believe that for be just a good first start in trying to get forgiveness, or to become, or to redeem or atone for something that you did wrong, was first try to make it up to the person by showing them that you're different, that showing them that you hurt them, and that
well,
you apologize and all this stuff, but then also just show them with actions that you are a changed person. And then also
look, hold on.
and then also change as a human being, not just for them but for yourself. Acknowledge that you fucked up internally, acknowledge that you hurt, that these things that you did hurt them, so you need, in order to be a better person, to not let this happen again, you just do different things. That's just
Going back
personal
to
growth, basically. But
going
anyway,
back
yeah,
to tension.
continue on with what you were saying.
I'm gonna because of what you said, I'm gonna address that in a little bit. I want to go back
Yeah,
to
sure.
tension first.
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes there's nothing you can do.
Yeah,
In the manga, for example, in Kenshin, not there's like different timelines and different manga that involve the same people, but he he actually goes in some of the places that he did all this wrong, asks for forgiveness, and he pretty much unanimously got no across the board. No
yeah,
one wanted to forgive them. As far as they were concerned, he was just a fucking monster. Sometimes there's nothing you can do for somebody to forgive you for something. And if there's nothing you can do, you can't live with that guilt for the rest of your life because someone refuses to forgive you. Because sometimes, including in the case of killing somebody, even though that you're doing it for justified reasons, or the person was attacking you first, or it was war, you were part of an army, they're part of the opposite army, and they just happen to lose. There's still nothing you can make up for taking someone's life.
yeah,
Um, so in a case like that, there really is no other way than to put the responsibility on the other person. That doesn't mean there's anything that you're going to be able to do, because what can you do? If they ask, what can I do? Well, can you bring them back to life? No, you can't. So get the fuck out of my house, right?
yeah.
Um, but let me show you the opposite end of it. And you might have seen this movie. It's in the movie The Gentleman. Uh, in The Gentleman, you have this person that's known as the coach, who has young men who he's coaching to become better people, whatever. And these young men, they have a way, they come from a certain part of town, and they end up robbing this other, let's say, much more powerful drug dealer. So the coach, he goes to the drug dealer's consigliere and says, "Hey, my boys are the ones who did this." Not verbatim. I can give you back what they took, but I cannot give you back the time, the headache, the problems that it gave. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna offer you my time, and I'm gonna more or less let you choose when it is that I have paid off my debt. But he says that in such a way that it has to be within reason. That he
Yeah.
can also have some leverage of when he can consider, look, my debt has been paid. And in an instant like that, where the responsibility of what can I do to make up for what went wrong is placed on the person that you transgressed. I don't see another way that you could go around it, because you don't know what you did and how it hurt.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like that's just my personal take. It's probably a hot take. Because I can see it where for some people it might be more helpful for them to choose what I do with you because you're the one who fucked me over. You know, some people might want that power over the other person because maybe that person took that their power away from them. You know, it's like, oh, you're gonna willingly give me power over your autonomy, kind of almost like the way you kind of took my power of my and took away my autonomy. That could be equal, unequal share, equal trade. Um,
It Those are like many shades of gray. Like, it
yeah,
depends on the culture of the person. It
yeah,
depends on the financial situation of the person. It depends on the social class of the person. All these things, their religion, these things mix and match,
yeah.
and it's going to give you
There's a fast like a facet of many different things.
the. All in all, we can say that in both animes, there's this overarching, or like they both have a similar way that they kind of have to show you that redemption or forgiveness for what you've done has to come from within.
Yeah.
You
Well, I
have to
guess
kind
that
of.
that connects with what I was talking about as well as like just the internal shifts and personal growth that comes with atonement and redemption. Um, I do want to clarify maybe some of our words here, and what I believe, what my personal take on some of these words mean. Um, I do believe that uh, forgiveness is an initial desire for a release of guilt that we all kind of at first search for, and then atonement is like the actions that we take and the dedication that we take in order to be forgiven. And then redemption is the journey itself, in which where we finally achieve which like being redeemable. Like we achieve um, atonement, we achieve growth, and we become a better human being, a better person, through the journey of redemption. And that's just my take on that. That's how I see those words and the differences between them, even though they're very similar in meaning. Can you
Becoming
hear
a
me?
better person. Yeah, of course. Becoming a better person through the lens of a story where someone has a redemption arc, uh, or where you have certain protagonists, whether it's a movie or an anime in this case, where they atone for what they did in the past or for some transgression that they did. It shows direct uh, light to someone's personal growth. And it doesn't always have to be that way. Sometimes you just have people who become better people for whatever reason. And it's only at that point that they start to look back at their life, they realize how terrible of a person that they were. And then they start to like behave differently. And oftentimes, some people would probably argue that's like one of the better ways to go, because there isn't the guilt, because most likely the person did not feel guilty at the time they did something, but they recognize that what they did was up. So
Hmm.
it's a unique position where, while someone still might think that you owe them an apology or whatever, you may not feel that way. And you have to have some level of humility to have someone say, "Hey, did you know that you hurt me during this part?" And then you say, like, "Oh, like during that time in my life, I was a terrible person, or this is the type of person that I was back then, and this is what I am now." And there's not necessarily any real hint that the person is expecting some type of, like, something back, or uh,
A
reparation
reward,
for what the person did.
like some sort of selfish reward, or
Again, nobody has the right, so to speak, to
or
be
the
forgiven for
entitlement.
something that they did. Yeah, you're not entitled for people to forgive you when it comes.
Yeah.
And some people, as I've said, like they just don't. They may just never want to. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. I just don't want to. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Life is short, you know.
That's
And
where I
like, what do you
guess
want me
self.
to
That's
do?
where like self forgiveness, like internal forgiveness, is really important. Because if you can't get it from an external source, then it's important that you also forgive yourself.
It also makes it much harder, but
Yeah.
it depends on the person. You have some people that just by means of their character, they're not gonna feel guilty to begin with, so it's like okay, whatever. But then you have other people who can do the smallest thing, and it's like to them they just killed somebody. Like
Yeah.
you can have people that'll cry for days because they killed a bug
Yeah.
or they accidentally ran over a squirrel and they're like, oh, I'm a killer, and they just feel horrible,
Yeah. It's all
like they just
it's all
can't live
very
with themselves.
subjective. It's all very subjective. We
Right.
all put work. We all put numbers and values to in worth to certain things that are just, and we all put more stakes into different things, based off of what we value.
Yeah, we could go into like all different types of like societal
Yeah, yeah.
relevances and relationships amongst each other as human beings that can, like, we could be here all night talking about
I
that
know,
shit. But
right? Is there anything you want to add more to like the character and like the anime specifically though?
well, the thing with Kenshin, and I don't know if I mentioned this in even this podcast particularly or in the past. It's a quote. The quote goes, "When we seek the best in others, we somehow find the best in ourselves."
Mm,
And a lot of that is shown in the character of Kenshin.
yeah,
As he redeems himself or is on a journey of redemption, his character changes to the point that he's always forgiving of other people. And it's not just Kenshin. There's another part of that I think I might even be able to mention. Let's stick for Kenshin for like a minute. Um, so whenever there's someone who does something wrong or there's a villain that he walks across, he always gives that villain the ability to say, "Hey, say you're sorry, stop doing your shit, and walk away." And it's always like, "How you fucking like don't
yeah,
come here with your
yeah. Right?
philosophy."
How dare you?
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
so, yeah. Haha, you're so funny. You think I'm
yeah.
gonna?
Like they think he's a weak person, right? They think, oh, you that's just like your weakness talking. That you're actually afraid I'm gonna kill you. That's why you're saying that. You're bluffing me, and then he kicks their ass.
Yeah,
And then they're like, shit, he clearly could have killed me with like a second thought. He could have, like, why am I alive right now? And then they start to question themselves.
yeah,
Yeah, it happens. He doesn't succeed every single time. There's some people that are irredeemable. They're evil no matter what,
yeah,
right? Those people don't get saved. But there's other people that like they start questioning themselves, like, damn, this person
yeah.
is clearly stronger than me, spared my life, and now I have to reflect on how much of an evil bastard I've been.
I guess that really, I think that I guess that really does show that even that con internal condemnation or damnation or condemning yourself um really can, I guess, stop you from um putting out your own change in the world. Because if he never pursued atonement or pursued a life of redemption, he would have never changed other people and even uh brought them on the path of redemption themselves. So like,
Yeah. Well,
he has, even though he killed so many people, he because of his journey for forgiveness or for atonement, he has now, who knows how many people he has helped save and help change their lives just by changing other people's lives and help
well,
them go through, becoming better
it's it's
people.
it's presented in a very positive light because
Yeah, it's like,
hold
literally,
up.
it's like the
It's like
spread.
this. When you kill someone and their life is over. If they have family members or people that cared about them, they might come after you and you kind of create this perpetual cycle of hate. So when you do the opposite thing and you save people, you then do this thing where the people that you save might then save other people
Others,
themselves.
yeah.
Yeah, and it has this theme that it goes on for eternity, for
Yeah.
generations. Yeah,
It's that's what I'm saying. It's like as much as his the death and destruction he caused is unquantifiable, the positive and the positive and the good change that he's also created is also unquantifiable.
yeah, yeah.
Like you
That's why.
can't really you can't fathom like the amount of good he's also done, even though you can't fathom the amount of bad he's also done.
That's why it's so important, and they tell you this in Kenshin that you have to stay alive.
You have yeah
Killing yourself,
exactly
yeah,
yeah
killing yourself
not
after you've done a bunch of bad, you feel so sorry, you feel like you're a horrible person, and then you kill yourself. That's all types of levels wrong. You didn't atone for shit.
yeah
You didn't
exactly like
do, yeah, you
you
didn't do the
know
right thing.
yeah
Getting rid of
you're like
yourself like that is the easy way out in a
yeah
situation like that. Yeah,
yeah it's like if you kill yourself then you would never be able to make like unfathomable amount of positive change. You wouldn't be able to do it. You just
there
basically
is.
wiped out an opportunity to do good. I think it's the same with the anime that I've chosen as well, where like if he could decided to kill himself that day and jump off the bridge, he would have never made the friends he made. He would have never changed Shoko's life and changed her perspective of herself. Like after meeting him again, she started actually like seeing how much she like her self-loathing was so detrimental to the people around her and to herself. And I think seeing and meeting her just changed her for the better. And like he would have never been able to save her if he killed himself. And that's I think that is
I
like a really important point.
I think that me and you. I mean, I'm gonna kind of show my bias here a little bit. People don't. I think people really don't give that the credit that it deserves. And again, maybe it's my bias, but if you want to talk about redemption, like a redemption arc or whatever in anime, I wouldn't be able to point you to anyone better or more easy to understand in some regard than Vegeta from Dragon Ball. Like
Oh yeah, yeah,
holy shit. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
that till I'm a grown man. I'm an adult. I've seen shit in my life, like you wouldn't imagine. Until this day, seeing Vegeta do what he does makes me cry. Like, wow, it's 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 all types of, and the more I look at it over time, as I've
Yeah.
grown and I've created relationships, people that depend on me. Uh, damn, the weight is crazy, and he ends up killing himself to try to atone, but ultimately, he doesn't really die. But damn, it's you have to see it. I really do hope that one day we watch it.
Yeah.
Like
I know a little bit about Vegeta, but not too much. But yeah, I could tell that that really does impact you, man.
like um, if someone tells me that they love Dragon Ball and I ask them for their favorite character and they tell me it's Vegeta, I automatically know I'm gonna get along.
I know, right?
Like I automatically know that's my boy for life. Like, I don't care what. Like,
I don't
we're
care what he
friends now.
did. I don't care what he did. I don't care who he is. He's my boy for life.
Yeah, we're friends now. It's that easy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Um, I do think that yeah, I think back to that point you made. It's kind of ironic that like this is that it's kind of ironic and maybe for a good reason, but for Japan, they're known for at least in feudal Japan and like even maybe a little bit now that seppuku and like suicide being like the only option for like atonement. It's kind of like that's what they're known for,
Wow.
especially
But
in
it
World
had,
War
yeah,
II. Like the only way that they could ever like save face is to kill themselves and not like basically if you come back from the war and you lost, you basically are better off dead. Like that was their culture,
yeah,
and
but
it's good.
it's not
It's
because you
nice.
did anything wrong. It's
Yeah,
because you failed and you've brought shame.
yeah, yeah.
There's no guilt behind it. It's just you brought shame. It's not the same thing.
It's a little bit. It's a little bit like I guess I'm just saying like I think that it's there's a hint of like you know similarities, a hint of like connections, and I think it's a good thing because in a way that's why that's why a lot of kids in Japan, at least in I don't know, I've never been there, but from what I know a little bit in my own anecdotic research is that the shame and the dishonor of the family of feeling like you are worthless, feeling that you're a burden, feeling like you are ashamed to your family, dishonor to your family, can just be feelings that come out based off of like not being enough, like not being a burden. Like Shoko felt like she was a burden, so like I feel like there is a little bit of a connection there, at least for but yeah. The only difference is that one Shoya actually did do something horrible that he needed to atone for. Well, Shoko was just society made her feel that way. Society made her feel like she was a burden, that she was just a drain on people around her. Um, but anyway,
When it comes to
yeah,
when it comes to these things, we have to be very careful not to attribute what Western society
yeah,
attribute to these kinds of things because
yeah,
I don't believe, not that I know that much about it. I have like total, I guess you could say, feelings and research and people I've met over the years, to some degree. You're not going to find a bunch of people that have went through like for real poverty in Japan, like they're the lowest of the low, who feel exactly that way when it comes to whether or not you've shamed your family. You see what I mean? Shaming your family when you're part of like a rich family and you decided you're going to participate in sport and you're lost in the sport, that's a completely different feeling than someone who lives in the suburbs or even deeper than that, like some farm somewhere, who's just not like capable of helping in the way that they might have expected them to. The flavor is not the same. It doesn't the same way.
yeah. I guess, yeah, I can see what you're saying there.
It, it's like I don't know if like well, I mean, I guess I could probably keep my mouth shut because I don't want to say something that might offend somebody. Um,
I think we already. I think that ship has already sailed. Probably.
I don't think
They
so.
ain't no. They're. This is the internet. There ain't no way you're never gonna. You're never. You're gonna offend.
Well, if I end up
You're bound to offend somebody.
if I end up offending somebody for something I said and not even realize that I did, I'd rather that than being
Hey,
aware
I guess we
that I
gotta
might say
atone. We
something.
gotta do. We gotta go through redemption and ask for forgiveness. No, I'm
Oh
kidding.
well, I'm past the point. I doubt there's anything I'm gonna ever have to atone for at this
I
point.
know. Yeah,
I've done some
but
terrible shit.
I do want to
Those days are
segue.
over.
Unless you have a some last thoughts, I do want to segue to another thing.
Go for it.
I want to segue to maybe talking about a little bit how forgiveness and redemption and atonement has like played a part in our lives.
Oh, sure. You want to go first? Or you want me to talk about? I was started talking anyway.
Um, yeah, sure, you can go.
Right now, there's something very simple in my life that I don't feel like I have to atone for necessarily. But let's say I made a promise to someone and I was never able to fulfill that promise because at the time that I had the ability to, I was screwed over, which made me more or less never able to see that person. And right now, I think that this is this happened in 2013, and I still feel guilty of it. And that guilt has been eating me alive, coming and going in certain points in my life for all this. And it's grown to like this small part of my character, I say, because it's no longer that I feel guilty about it, more so than I feel like, damn, I've been wanting to be a man of my word since I was legit tiny child. I was like, I want to be a man of
Mm,
my word. And I remember that this was one of the times where I did not uh, 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 I did not desire or did enough to be a man of my word at the time where it was so stupid and so simple that anybody could have done it any time and I just didn't do it. And I just feel guilty as hell. And till this day, I feel like one of these days I'm gonna actually complete the promise, but I don't even know if the person I made that promise to even remembers that I did that promise to them. When I see them sometimes, hey, what's up? We're like really friendly. We like hang out and shit. I don't think this person even remembers. But then I don't know if they remember or not. If I remember, how could they not? Maybe they don't, but I don't know for sure. And I don't want to go ask. Because if I go ask them, hey man, remember this long time ago I made you this promise? I'm like, yeah, you did do that. What the fuck's up, man? I don't know if they're gonna take advantage of it, if they're gonna make a big ass joke about it, because to them they could take that opportunity to just make a huge joke about it. Whereas it's been eating me alive this whole time. Like,
Hey,
I'm like,
sometimes you gotta bite the bullet, man. Maybe it might make you
I'm
feel
like,
better.
fuck, this has been killing me, and you don't even give a shit. And then that's when it kind of like obviously I've been through this like a resolution in my head already. I can make fun of it now. Um, I'm like, do I even care anymore? It's like, uh, uh, uh. Well, damn. What I'm trying to say, it becomes important. This is a lesson that you learn in life, where not just in terms of always being a man of your word, but that the best time to atone for something is right now, right away,
Yeah, yeah,
when it's hot. You know
yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying? When it's
Yo,
hot.
or it could haunt you forever.
It's not just it can haunt you forever. You get the opportunity to acknowledge the other person's feelings in the moment that they might be feeling a certain
Yeah,
way about it. So you will never get a better opportunity to know exactly how they feel about something other than the time that they were feeling. Because
yeah,
anytime after where they've like processed it or whatever, not to say that they don't need to process it, sometimes it's better to do so, obviously. But the right away saying like, "Hey, I fucked up," like
yeah.
I know that I did, and then you haven't waited like a month before
It
you
it
decided
doesn't
to.
have like right away has a better and bitter and better impact than like years later.
Yeah, it's kind of like,
It's like, man, why didn't you tell me this when I needed you to? Right now,
yeah, it's
I'm
like
already healed up. I'm already like healed up. You just opened up some fucking wounds, man.
type shit. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And or like, oh man, dude, it's too late. Like I don't give a fuck now. Like you should have told me this when it happened. You
it's
know?
this kind of thing that you have to acknowledge sometimes your feelings on something that you don't want to be. I believe the word is solipsism. You don't want to let solipsism take over in instances like this because for someone you have no idea. We're just mentioning it only at the time that it was most important, and then because you mentioned it and did only that, a huge level of relief, mutual understanding, and respect could amount or come as a result of that immediate, which could cement your friendship for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Uh, and I don't know. There are probably like several more examples about stuff that I've done in my life that could exemplify shades and ups and downs and different levels of what I just said. That's the easiest one to just off the top say, hey, like this is something that has changed my life because from a long time now, uh, a decade even, the idea of immediately like apologizing if I feel like I did something wrong, uh,
Yeah.
being a man of my word, making sure I try to understand other people's point of view and feel about things. So um, I know what to do. And since I believe, in the power of one person, I believe in someone either in a position of power or in a position where they influence other people, they have to be very careful in the sense that what you do could create waves that, you know, perpetuate for who knows how long. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that some people are like, oh, who the fuck do you think you are? That you think that what you're so important. I would say if ever I have someone tells me something like that, because I thought about it a lot, like it has nothing to do with me thinking I'm some amazing person that can change life, like I'm so fucking important. It has to do that I recognize that as an individual, I interact with other individuals and they have their whole world life the same way that I do. And it's like an acknowledgement of their existence in the same way that it's an acknowledgement of mine.
Yeah.
I could go on about stuff like forever. Also,
Yeah, yeah, like I said, maybe we need to talk part a part twoer. But yeah, I think for me in my experiences, something that I think that could help somebody um with this theme, um which, to be honest, like, we are talking a lot about, we're talking a lot about, like, atonement and forgiveness, redemption, and all this stuff, that the three words we keep repeating over and over again. But um I think at this heart of it all, it's personal growth, personal growth, and become basically transformation, like, and knowing that, we're not forever condemned, knowing that there is a second chance, there is a way to make up for the things we've done wrong, that, this is not inescapable, knowing that this is something that we can come back from, we can come out of, because that's where a lot of people stay in the guilt, they stay in the hatred, the hating oneself, they stay in the 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 dark hole in which they feel they belong in. And I think that, in my experience, what has helped me whenever I felt like I fucked up is immediately trying to make up for it. Like you were saying, like, immediately apologize, immediately address it, immediately take the steps. Because the sooner you do it, or not even just the sooner you do it, but like, when you decide, when you make the decision to, and you make the action, when you turn the decision into the action, the lighter you get, the better you feel, and the easier it gets each time to do something different, to be something different. And, you know, um, and the more you do it, the more proof you have. The more good you do, the better the choices you make, the different choices you make, knowing that the old you would do something different in this situation, but this situation you did something different. You did something better. You made a better choice. It's the small choices. It's the small steps. We all think that this is some insurmountable mountain that we can never, like, climb. That is just so grand and so big that, like, this hole that we're in, we're never gonna get out. We're never gonna come. How can we ever be someone on the mountain when we're in this hole? Like, how can we ever be the person who is so much better than us, who's, like, so much more perfect, someone who never hurt anybody in their life? Like, that is, like, not attainable. But we can get out of this hole. We can claw each and every inch. Like, and each time we claw our way out of the hole that we dug ourselves in, a lot of the time, that we fucked over people. Some of these people threw dirt in us, threw justifiably probably dirt in our faces while we're down in this hole. You know, um, if we just, show them that we are different people, that we're better people, then, each little decision each little action we make, sooner or later, we've, like, in the journey of doing these small actions, we've already transformed, and we won't even know until somebody notices, someone tells us. Um, I think these little action. That's the thing, is, like, these insurmountable, like, atonement that we think that we're never going to achieve, so we don't even try. Like, if we just take it one step at a time, one small gesture of kindness, that we wouldn't, like, if we want to be good people, just do good things. It's just really so simple. It's like the simplest thing that we could ever think of. It's like, if we want to make it up to somebody, make it up to them in whatever way we can. Like, in the smallest of actions to the biggest of actions. And once we get good at it, it's a practice. Like, once we get into that, it gets easier to do it. And then it gets easier to believe that you can become something better. Like, that's what I believe. That's, like, how I, live my life. And, to be honest, like, I think that, to segue into everything, I think that is, the lesson and the lessons we learn through experience, which is why we've decided to call this the You Learn with Experience podcast,
Learn from
because
experience, but
we all learn from the experiences and the lives we live every day. Um, and that's the
you
end.
might actually have
That
to double check if that shit doesn't exist already.
I know, right? I guess I know, right? We don't want no copyright. No,
Well,
we gotta. I'll like do something different if it's already been taken. But anyway,
the way it
uh,
slips off,
it does.
I,
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I know, right?
To
You learn from experience podcast, or you learn from experience podcast, whichever it is.
learn from learn from experience, but
Uh, we might have to change it, but yeah, that's why I believe it's like it's the lessons we learn through experience, and that's why through this podcast, hopefully, you can learn from our experiences, and maybe you can grow from yours. You guys have a nice night. Take care, everybody.